In the 17th century, before film and editing came about, the use of magic lanterns recorded the first ever moving image. This was one of the only forms of entertainment for the lower class of society. A magic lantern was a mechanism that showed moving images through a glass lens projected onto a plain wall. From black and white to coloured paintings, magic lanterns became very popular and were used in most cinemas. A thaumatrope is a toy that was popular in Victorian times. A disc or card with a picture on each side is attached to two pieces of string. When the strings are twirled quickly between the fingers, the two pictures appear to combine into a single image due to the persistence of vision. Thaumatropes were a trick of the eye and mind, using one image that connected to the image on the other side. These images were the first early stages of animation. A zoetrope is a device that produces the illusion of motion from a rapid rotation of a series of pictures drawn or painted on the inside. The earliest known zoetrope was created in China around 180 AD by the inventor Ting Huan. The praxinoscope was an improvement of the zoetrope that became popular towards the end of the 19th century. The earliest projected moving images were displayed using a magic lantern zoetrope. A magic lantern praxinoscope was later demonstrated in the 1880s. In November 2009, Timothy Adam Abad and his family created the Wibatron, the first center perspective 3D zoetrope. The first ever photograph, a window view from La Grasse in France, was taken in 1826 by Joseph Nisport. Edward Muybridge was an English photographer important for his pioneering work in photographic studies of motion and in-motion picture projection. In the 1880s, Muybridge entered a very productive period at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, producing over 100,000 images of animals and humans in motion, capturing what the human eye could not distinguish as separate movement. Muybridge is well known for his The Horse in Motion moving image created in 1878. Leland Stanford, a businessman and a racehorse owner, hired Muybridge for some photographic studies. He had taken a position on a popular debate, whether all 4 feet of a horse were off the ground at the same time whilst trotting. Muybridge planned to take a series of photos on the 15th of June, 1878 at Stanford's Palo Alto Stock Farm. He placed numerous large glass plate cameras in a line along the edge of the track. The shutter of each was triggered by a thread as the horse passed. The path was lined with cloth sheets to reflect as much light as possible. He copied the images in the form of silhouettes onto a disc to be viewed in a machine he had invented, which was called the zoopraxiscope. This device was later regarded as an early movie projector, and the process as an intermediate stage toward motion pictures or cinematography. By early 1895, the Lumiere brothers had invented their own device combining camera with printer and projector and called it the cinematograph. The Lumiere brothers gave birth to entertainment, documentaries, series, and animation. With the cinematograph, they created the first ever film, Exiting the Factory.
19th of March, 1895. We are Chemin Saint-Victor, in front of the Lumiere factory. The Chemin Saint-Victor has now become the first film street. Lumiere put this camera in front of his factory and begs, orders his workers to go out. This is the first film, the first version. We know it because a journalist at the time described a bicycle, a dog, that you can see the dog, and a horse.
In 1907, they produced the first practical colour photography process, the autochrome plate. A Trip to the Moon, released in the UK in 1902, is a French silent film directed by Georges Méliès. Inspired by a wide variety of sources, it follows a group of astronomers who travel to the moon in a cannon-propelled spaceship, explore the moon's surface, escape from an underground group of lunar inhabitants, and return in splashdown to Earth. The film was released by Méliès' Star Film Company and is numbered 399 to 411 in its catalogues. Using 840 feet of film and a projection speed of 14, the film was a total of 17 minutes long. The camera movement in this film is very minimal as there are so many different actors and props on scene. When asked in 1930 what inspired Méliès to create the film, he credited Jules Verne's novels, From Earth to the Moon and Around the Moon. The Birth of a Nation is a 1915 American silent drama film directed by D.W. Griffith and based on the novel and play The Klansman. The film was a commercial success but was labelled the most racist film of all time owing it to its portrayal of African American men, played by white actors in blackface, as unintelligent and sexually aggressive towards white women, and the portrayal of the Ku Klux Klan as heroic force. The film was released on February the 8th, 1915. The Birth of a Nation began filming in 1914 and pioneered such camera techniques as the use of panoramic long shots, the iris effects, still shots, night photography, panning camera shots, and a carefully staged battle sequence with hundreds of extras made to look like thousands. It also contains many new artistic techniques, such as colour tinting for dramatic purposes, building up the plot to an exciting climax, dramatising history alongside fiction, and featuring its own musical score written for an orchestra. When the film was released, it shattered both box office and film-length records, running 3 hours and 10 minutes. In 1998, it was voted one of the top 100 American films by the American Film Institute. Sergei Einstein was a pioneering Soviet-Russian film director and film theorist, often considered to be the father of montage. He is noticed in particular for his silent films Strike, Battleship Potemkin, and October, as well as the historical epic Alexander Nevsky. Soviet montage theory is a method to understanding and creating cinema that relies heavily upon editing. Although Soviet filmmakers in the 1920s disagreed about how exactly to view the montage, Sergei Einstein marked a note of accord in a dialect approach to film form, when he noted that montage is the nerve of cinema. Einstein describes 5 methods of montage in his early essay, Word and Image. These varieties of montage build one upon the other, so the higher forms include the approaches of the simpler varieties. In addition, the lower types of montage are limited to the difficulty of meaning which they can communicate. It is easiest to understand these as parts of the scale where at one end the image content matters very little, while at the other it determines everything about the choices and combinations of the edited film. Einstein's montage theories are based on the idea that the montage originates in the collision between different shots and an illustration of the idea of theory and opposition. The use of different shots is one of the most discussed and studied points in film and editing. I will be showing and discussing 8 of my own examples. The over-shoulder shot is a popular shot in movies, TV programs, and more. This shot is used during conversation between 2 characters to show the reaction of one subject, as well as the other subject talking. Over-shoulder shots are used alongside of shot reverse shot. Bird's-eye shots are taken from a high angle and are usually used to show height, for example, from the top of a building. This shot is common in action movies and is used to add dramatic effect. The tilt-up motion shot is used to introduce a character in any context, such as mystery or drama. This shot will be used to show a character's costume and mannerism from the feet up. Extreme close-up shots are used to show detail of an object or character. This shot emphasizes emotion and can add tension between characters. An extreme close-up is an unusual shot because it is uncomfortably close and no background is seen. Panning is used to show a location or scenery, usually in long shot or extreme long shot style. This involves camera movement from one side of a shot to another. This shot is used frequently in a slow pace to show emotion or so the audience can indulge the scenery. Point of view shots are used to see what is going on from the particular character's perspective. The shot is usually close up and shows certain parts of the character's actions so the audience feel more involved in the scene, for example, typing, shaking hands with another character. This shot is used throughout the filming of the TV series Peep Show. This is a low-angle shot. It is mainly used to show dominance and power in the character shown. Low-angle shots are shot from a low, floor angle looking up at the character or object to show height. An establishing shot is used to show the scenery or location before showing the scene involving characters. For example, the apartment block in Friends is shown before a scene inside the apartment. This shot is useful to give the audience an idea of where the scene is set.
Mal à la tête.
On sera pas ensemble, mais je voudrais rester à côté de toi.
Non, ce n'est pas.
The French movie Breathless, or A Bout d'Essoufflé, was directed by Jean-Luc Godard in 1960. The film attracted much attention for its bold visual style and the innovative use of jump cuts. Throughout the particular car scene I looked at, he uses different jump cuts to show time going by. However, he does this by obviously changing the background in each cut shot. This is unusual because usually you would use discrete transitions or cutaways to hide certain jump cuts. A match cut is a cut in a film editing between either two different objects, two different shapes, or two different compositions in which an object and the two shots graphically match. Match cuts come from the basis of continuity editing, meaning it's an unnoticeable transition between shots. A match cut will occur when the shapes, colours, or overall movement of the two shots match in composition, either within a scene or across a transition between two scenes. This is a scene from the movie 99 Francs, shows a good, creative example of match cut. The use of colour is used in this scene to show a match cut, showing cocaine to white snow to a white afro. Another interesting match cut example I found is from the 2012 action comedy film Kick-Ass. In this clip, a match cut of a gunshot into a bowling ball is used to cleverly move from one scene to the next. This effect is to match the noise and action of the gunshot to the noise and action of a bowling ball, looking as if the bowling ball was fired from the gun.
Okay, 2 more rounds. No wincing, no whining, and you got yourself a deal, young lady.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a hot fudge sundae.
Good call, baby doll.
Transitions are used frequently in films throughout the post-production process of editing. There are many different types of transitions, such as a dissolve, a fade, a match cut, fade in, fade out, and so on. These transitions are used to express a tone or mood, suggest the passage of time, or to separate parts of the story. When it comes to time and pacing in film editing, it is very important that you match it up with the particular genre of the movie. Pacing occurs when the editor varies the length of the shots and guides the viewers in their emotional response to the scene. A good example to discuss is the opening scene in James Bond Quantum of the Solace. During this scene, fast, edgy pace transitions are used to show a build-up of intensity. The camera uses quick cuts between the water and the car to give a sense of thrill and mystery, as no characters or action has been shown yet. By using quick cuts between each shot, the audience, I, feel a sense of intense action. This relating to the fact the genre of the film is action, achieving the dramatic emphasis of pacing. This second example of a scene from Lost in Translation is a very diverse genre from my first example. During this scene, slow, simple shots are used, and this gives off a dull, maybe sad impression. However, this kind of pacing goes with the way the characters are acting and adds an emotional effect to the scene. This slow pace gives a relaxed and thoughtful feel to the scene. Shot reverse shot is a popular film editing technique usually used during conversation between two characters. The technique is being able to capture one character talking, as well as capturing the other character's response or reaction. This technique enables you to film one side of the conversation without the other character actually being there, and then later cutting or editing the clips. In filmmaking, the 180-degree rule is a basic guideline regarding the on-screen relationship between a character and another character or object within a scene. An imaginary line called the axis connects the characters, and by keeping the camera on one side of the axis for every shot in the scene, the first character will always be frame right of the second character, who is then always frame left of the first. If this rule was not followed, both characters would be looking in the same direction. If the camera passes over the axis, it is called crossing the line, and this movement must be shown whilst filming. An eyeline match is a film editing technique associated with the continuity editing system. It is based on the principle that the audience will want to see what the character on screen is seeing. The eyeline match begins with a character looking at something off screen, followed by a cut to the object or person at which he is looking. For example, a man running down the street, looking back. The shot cuts to the man running away from a dinosaur. Continuity editing is used in all films. It means the editing between shots that the audience cannot see so it does not disrupt the flow of the scene. This can make a scene look more real due to the fact that cuts and transitions are invisible. Whilst filming a scene, you need to make sure that the character and props are the same throughout the whole scene so the flow of the scene is not interrupted or ruined for the audience. Continuity errors are usually unnoticeable, but if noticed can ruin the audience's indulgence in the film. For example, in the film Gangster Squad at the beginning of the movie, the main character is smoking a cigarette, which is almost finished. Then in the next shot, the cigarette is not lit yet and has not even been smoked. This shows that the two different shots were filmed at different times using different props.
I need you to wage war against Mexico.
I'm looking to put a squad together.
What's that?
A small squad. 5, maybe 6 guys.
Going up against 40?
Well, you gotta die of something.
Leave these at home. Nobody will ever know what we've done. We're not solving a case here. We're going to war.
Parallel editing is the technique of altering two or more scenes that often happen at the same time but in different locations. If the scenes are simultaneous, they occasionally conclude in a single place, where the relevant parties confront each other.
And all his works
I do renounce them.
Over time, film has developed into digital video due to the ongoing ability to use special effects. You can visually tell the difference between the two, as film will contain a filter grain look and have a jumpy effect. Depending on what sort of film is created, cost will vary. For example, a film using multi-camera, special effects and 3D would be a high-costing production due to the amount of technology used. Use of film cameras, however, is a longer process and is extremely expensive if you wanted to edit the production. Nowadays, digital filmmaking, in my opinion, is the most popular due to the editing ability technology has formed over time. Analog and digital signals are used to transmit information, usually through electric signals. In both these technologies, the information, such as any audio or video, is transformed into electric signals. Many devices come with built-in facilities from analog to digital. Microphones and speaker are a perfect example of analog devices. Analog technology is cheaper, but there is a limitation of size of data that can be transmitted at any given time.